What is crack, everyone? It's Nathan here, aka Family Kern, and head instructor of Current School of Combat. So I was asked by a few different people to show collar and elbow and how it kind of fits into Irish stick fighting, and this is how I've used it to fit into Irish stick fighting, and also just my own experience through sparring and through Dog Brothers style training and sparring as well. So there's certain things that I've noticed across each of those different areas, which I just thought were kind of useful to note. And obviously, with the kind of historical side of things, there is certain aspects of it that kind of ring true as well. So one of the big things, obviously, with collar and elbow, let's sit down for a second. Obviously, the main thing is that we're looking for a grip of our opponent's collar and elbow, and obviously, a wonderful assistant Oisin is trying to do the same thing. How it was popularised, or how it was referred to, was it was a tall upright stance with loose relaxed arms, and obviously using the feet. Now the thing with modern day wrestling is when people start to grapple, generally they bring their hips back and get low. Obviously in stick fighting you don't want to do that. If I do that, Oisin's going to doink you right in the top of the head. So when we get to grips with each other and we actually start to grapple, generally you will end up in a very similar position, because if my stick is coming over his head, Oisin's probably going to want to do the same to me, and if he doesn't, I generally want to control this hand. So even if I'm not necessarily controlling his elbow, and maybe control his wrist, and we're in quite a similar collar side position, but generally he'll be trying to do the same thing back to me, and I'll be doing the same thing to him, and making sure that I know where his stick is so I don't get hit by it. And obviously with Irish sticks we have this extra third, which means we can actually use that as a better control, as opposed to say screaming and similar styles where you only maybe have an inch. This is more just sticking in the back of the neck rather than actually offering a bit of a control around the neck. One of the things with this though is that you're not, you don't have a huge amount of control, like you're not torquing someone around with this. You're just using this as a bit of control on their neck as you start to wheel them and move them around. And the other thing is, I want to be quite upright with this. Like I said earlier, I don't want to be backing away, because this opens me up to get a knee in the face. But more importantly, if I back away, I'm losing control of this hand, and if Oisin pulls that stick away, now you can start hitting me in the head, which is something that I don't want. So one of the things as well to keep in mind, one of the big reasons why you don't want to back away from stick fighting as well, is that if I have this grip here, or any similar grip, is that as I back away, my hand is now away from my body, and Oisin can attack my arm and my hand, and then I'm going to lose my stick, which is not something you want to do. So generally that upright posture that you see in collar and elbow is something that you want to replicate when you're stick grappling, essentially. What I mean by that is, if we're here, I want to be keeping my head close to Oisin so that he can't hit me without risk of potentially hitting himself. And also I want my arms to be fairly relaxed so that I can feel what he's doing, and also if I need to pull down on this arm, keep control of his elbow. Which also means that my takedowns are going to be similar and kind of based around this. So classic examples would be looking for my trips, looking for things like your crooks, inside hooks into here, and back heels back here, or even something simple as like your regular sort of hip tosses. Main reason being, if I'm doing this, I'm keeping control of my stick and of his stick, which is obviously pretty important when we're in a stick fight. So generally you will find when you are grappling with sticks that you will be in that upright posture, and as a result, when you start to move someone around, the legs are generally going to be the thing that will open up the most, mainly because people are going to be very defensive with their upper half. Generally the person is going to avoid me getting underhooks on them, just like you would in standard wrestling. So as I'm wheeling Oisin around, this will be the sort of stuff, attacking his feet, attacking his legs, that will offer me the most use. And obviously with stick fighting as well, people are very conscious of someone swimming for their back. So for example, for those who wrestle, we're going to shut the arm under and come out around Oisin, and generally people are going to be super wary of that. So as I go for it, if Oisin feels me shutting this up, he's generally going to be starting to pull his elbow down, make my life very difficult, and we're essentially stuck back in this kind of collar and elbow position. So that was kind of some of the observations that I've had over the years of doing it. For me, and the way I teach my class, often we focus on these kind of upper body throws and using the legs, and so that our hands are free. That's one of the other things as well that's really useful for this style of grappling, is that if I'm wrestling with Oshin, I am more concerned in stick fight about my stick than I am about trying to grapple. Because if I'm dedicating myself to grappling, this is just going to impede me, and I'm usually just better off getting rid of this and actually wrestle them, take them up and do all this, that sort of fun stuff. So if I'm trying to keep hold of my stick, that's where I need to be using my legs, using my feet, setting up my trips, and setting up those sort of throws. And then obviously within historical context, when you're looking at something like a faction fight, generally, obviously people didn't want to be going to the ground, so upright throws, trips and sweeps, those sort of movements are obviously somewhat more preferred for something like a faction fight, because if I'm wrestling here with Oshin and I get something like a back heel and I get to the ground, that's kind of an ideal situation for me, because I'm up, he's down. Even if I don't go to ground, or he's obviously not knocked out or whatever, I'm at much of a concern with his buddies, my buddies, or him just getting trampled than I am of anything else. So, hope that all kind of makes sense. Hope you enjoyed that. If you're interested in any more videos like this, do let me know. Shout out to Tom Headhunter Higgins for asking me to put this video together. It's kind of inspired by him. If you don't already follow his channel, I will put it in the description. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and so long.